The Gown and the Gang, deconstructing the legal system's monopoly on power. At first glance, the comparison seems absurd, even offensive. To equate the hallowed halls of the Inner Temple and the solemnity of the Crown Court with the brutal structure of a criminal gang feels like a category error. One represents order, justice, and the rule of law. The other represents chaos, violence, and its flagrant breach. Yet, if we strip away the veneer of legitimacy, the wigs, the gowns, the ancient traditions, and the impenetrable language, the underlying structures of power, hierarchy, and enforcement begin to look unnervingly similar. This is not to say that judges are gangsters, but rather to argue that the legal establishment operates as a supremely organized, state-sanctioned entity with a monopoly on the very things a criminal gang seeks: control, wealth, and the enforcement of its will through force. The primary difference is not one of function, but of perception. The state has simply won the ultimate turf war and has named its own system justice. 1. The Code and the Rule Book, controlling the membership. Every powerful organization, from the mafia to the judiciary, is built on a set of rules that define its membership and enforce loyalty. A criminal gang operates on an unwritten code of conduct, like omerta, with brutal consequences for transgression. This code fosters secrecy, loyalty, and an us versus them mentality, making the organization impenetrable to outsiders. The legal establishment operates on a highly codified rulebook. Documents like the Standing Orders of the Inner Temple act as the organization's constitution. They dictate in painstaking detail who can join, how they must be trained, and who holds ultimate authority: the benchers. The language of the law itself, legalese, serves as a linguistic barrier, ensuring that only the initiated can truly understand and participate in the system. In both cases, this code serves the same purpose: to create a closed system, control entry into its ranks, and ensure that power remains consolidated within the group. To be a barrister, a member of the family, you must be called to the bar by one of the four Inns of court. They are the sole gatekeepers. There is no other way in. 2. The hierarchy of power. The Crown Court is a gangland structure. The abstract power of the Inns of Court becomes terrifyingly real in the Crown Court, where decisions over life and liberty are made. The hierarchy here is rigid and mirrors the command structure of a sophisticated criminal enterprise. The Don/the boss, the High Court or Senior Circuit Judge, at the apex sits the judge. They preside over the court, their authority absolute. They are drawn almost exclusively from the most elite ranks of barristers, King's Counsel, and are members of the same inns that created them. Like a crime boss, their word is final within their domain. They interpret the rules and their judgment is law, backed by the full force of the state. The capos/captains, the King's Counsel, KC, these are the elite senior barristers. They are the made men of the legal world, distinguished by their title and silk gowns. They handle the most serious and high-stakes cases, prosecuting for the crown or leading the defense. They command immense respect and fees, and it is from their ranks that the future dons, senior judges, are chosen. The soldiers, the junior barristers, these are the frontline operators. They do the daily work of prosecution and defense, building cases, examining witnesses, and arguing points of law. They are members of the organization, bound by its rules, and aspire to one day rise through the ranks to become a KC. Their performance is judged by their superiors, the KCs and the judges they appear before. This creates a perfect, self-sustaining loop. The ones enforcing the law, judges, are the most successful products of the system they now command. They have spent a lifetime mastering its rules and culture, and they are tasked with upholding its power. 3. The enforcement arm, a monopoly on legitimate violence. This is the bedrock of the entire system and the most crucial point of comparison. A criminal gang enforces its will through illegitimate violence and intimidation. The legal system does the exact same thing, but calls it law enforcement. When a judge in the Crown Court hands down a sentence, it is not a suggestion. It is a command backed by an immense threat. 1. The ruling: a judge sentences a person to prison. 2. The threat: if that person refuses, they will be physically overpowered. 3. The enforcement: uniformed state agents, police officers, prison guards, are authorized to use physical force, seizure, restraint, caging, to compel compliance. A gang might break a person's legs for failing to pay a debt. The state, through its legal system, will send bailiffs to seize their home. A gang might kidnap a rival. The state will arrest a person and hold them in a cell. The act is functionally the same: the deprivation of property, liberty, or even life, enforced through physical coercion. The only difference is that one is labeled crime, and the other is labeled justice. The legal system is, therefore, the most successful gang in history. It has eliminated all rivals and established a monopoly, not on drugs or gambling, but on the application of force itself. Conclusion: the polished veneer. The majesty of the law, the ornate courtrooms, the intellectual rigor, the appeals to justice, is a powerful and often noble veneer. But beneath it lies the primal architecture of power. It is a hierarchical organization that controls its own membership, operates by a complex internal code, and ultimately imposes its will on the general population through the direct and unwavering threat of state-sanctioned violence. To view the system this way is not to cheapen the concept of justice, but to understand the raw mechanics of the power that underpins it. It reminds us that every legal order, however eloquent, is an instruction that begins with "you will," and ends with the unspoken but ever-present phrase, "or else."